Never let anybody see you sweat.
So I was born in New York City, and I lived there until I was 8 years old. I realized that I was a much better talker than I was a listener. I don't know what to say, I just don't like what you're saying.
Sorry, Your Honor.
I ended up going to law school at Georgetown, and I was a prosecutor for Janet Reno. I loved it because it was so raw. Were you cheating on her?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
All rise.
Our show will be a mixture of education, I think you're misreading the law a little bit, and entertainment. My main goal is justice and the law. That's been my legacy, and the legacy I hope to continue into the future with the show.
Daniel and Kendra Lewis claim their former landlord ignored a leak in their apartment, but then blamed them for the damage it caused. Ronaldo Singh says his tenants let mold grow, so he's keeping their security deposit.
Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Lewis, you are suing your former landlord, Mr. Singh, for $3,000. That's the amount of your security deposit that he refuses to return, correct?
Correct.
What's going on?
Well, Your Honor, we moved into the apartment 2 years ago. Multiple problems throughout the 2 years that we were living there. The last 6 months, there was a leak. He blamed it on us. It wasn't our fault, and he's withholding our security deposit. We deserve that money back.
Okay, there was a leak. Where was the leak?
Well, it started off with the leak being in our garage. That was 6 months before we left the place. I noticed there was a giant water puddle in the garage, but the thing that he's actually withholding our deposit for is the shower, which is nowhere near the garage.
All right, well, let's talk about 6 months earlier. So you call him and you alert him, or you text him and you tell him there's a leak in the garage?
I do. I actually have that in evidence.
Okay, I don't think you deny that, right? Like they did alert you.
Yes,
there was
Your
a leak.
Honor.
And then did he send anybody to look into that?
Yes, he did. And I only knew that because the maintenance guy had to come to our place as well to check for leaks.
Okay.
And then we heard nothing about it. So we assumed there wasn't a leak. We assumed there was no problem because we just heard nothing.
Okay. Did you send somebody to go take a look at that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you send a handyman or a plumber?
Yes, my trusted handyman that handles all
and then
my
the
problems.
handyman went over, and what did he tell you it was?
Well, he found out, he suspected initially that it was from the sprinklers coming from the neighbors, because the neighbor's sprinkler runs kind of high. It tends to overflow sometimes into our property, but it has never done that. It's never gone into the garage.
Well, plus also you would see a trail as opposed to just a big puddle in the center, so I'm not sure that his conclusions are particularly trustworthy. So did you ever send a plumber or no?
No, Your Honor, we didn't. The handyman basically looked at all the plumbing and determined there was no problem, there was no leak in the.
But how does he do that without ripping open? Like, you know, to really know, I mean, looked at all the plumbing. You can't really, he doesn't have x-ray vision. How does he know that?
No, Your Honor, the pipes are exposed, so they don't necessarily have to strip
the pipes are exposed in the garage?
Yes.
Oh, well, then he doesn't need x-ray vision.
No.
He just needs vision. Okay, so he looks at the pipes and everything's fine, and his guess is it's the sprinkler system from the neighbors.
Yes, Your Honor, but then again, the problem didn't really reoccur, so it kind of figured it was one and done.
So now you folks are moving out, you give adequate notice, there's no issue on that, and then you leave the place, and how did you leave the place?
Pristine.
Okay. Do you have any pictures of how you left the place?
We do.
Okay. That's always a very, very good idea. Whenever you move into a place, you take very good close-up pictures of everything wrong with the place, even if you don't want it fixed, just so that you don't get blamed for it.
Your Honor, I will just add, though, that 2 days before we moved out, I did text the landlord again because I had been in the bathroom and I was packing things up ready for us to move, and I moved the shower mat, and there was another puddle.
Underneath the shower mat?
Underneath the mat. And
okay, but what is the mat? Hold on one second. Let's back up. All right, so this is how long before you move out?
This was 2 days before we left.
Okay,
we were packing.
and so you move the shower mat and you find what underneath?
Water.
Water.
How much water?
It was
2 feet.
Yeah.
You know.
It was covered by the mat.
You don't have a picture of it, do you?
We do not.
All right. So you call him and you tell him, hey, water's collecting here?
We texted him.
I texted him and I have
Let me see that text. I do want to see that.
We have the text from the garage and we have the text as well.
The garage, I don't need to. You can go ahead. That's fine. Yeah.
Thank you. From the bathroom.
And I will just add that neither of us showered that day, so we did not cause that puddle. It was there.
Well, how did it happen?
Well, my belief is that there's leaking in the pipes.
All right, so is it a $3,000 security deposit?
Yes.
All right, let me hear from you, Mr. Singh, on why you feel you have the right to keep the security deposit.
Well, Your Honor, I brought in specialists to look at the problem. We noticed that there was moisture and humidity on the surface. And once we used our moisture meters, and we found that there was water seepage inside the floor and inside the wall, to the extent that there was mold damage. So we had to basically pull out all the wood and the tile and repaint everything, do all the mold remediation, and all in all, it set me back.
I live in Miami, Florida. I know exactly what you're talking about because it just happens like without leaks to us. It's just, it's ridiculous.
Coming up on Justice for the People.
Can I ask you a question? Have you ever had to call a repair person in your life that someone else didn't need to call? Because sometimes it takes 3 days to get them there.
And later.
And I asked her, I said, well, I don't know why you're letting me go. It doesn't really make any sense. I fully went through hair and makeup. And she said, well, I didn't realize you were a drug addict.
If you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring your case to court, call 1-888-552-6878. This is Justice for the People with Judge Milian. We're back with a dispute between Daniel and Kendra Lewis and their former landlord, Ronaldo Singh, over a withheld security deposit.
So I know it's a big endeavor, but what I guess what I'm asking you is, how is it something you pin on them? Why is it their fault?
Because we've eliminated all other causes, Your Honor.
So okay, so how did they cause it?
Well, our theory is that they probably left the shower curtain partially open, or I don't know how open. But
well, I don't know why you're laughing. People do that all the time. I'm not sure why you're laughing, because people do that all the time, and water collects.
Your Honor,
How long have you owned this place?
I've owned this place for close to 9 years now.
So how do you know who committed the negligence?
Because every time we rent it out, we prepare the
Right, but you don't look into the subfloor. Well, the subfloor is the last thing, that's when you rip up the floor, is when you see this. So you don't know how long it's been building up, do you?
Unless we sense there's some kind of moisture on the surface.
Right, which didn't happen in the 9 years because you never did it.
We have the same people look at it. These are experts. They do all our apartments. I
know. And when they sensed it was only after they left. But it's not like you went around having sensor meters after every tenant or anything like that. We don't know when this moisture developed.
So, Your Honor,
what relationship is this bathroom to the garage? Is it right on top?
This is right directly above it.
Your Honor, if I may. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Many of other tenants in our building also have had so many complaints about him as well. We're not the only
him
ones.
as a human, or about leaks?
No, about him being an absentee landlord.
What do you mean by absentee?
Well, in our instance, there's been issues that we've reported that have taken him up to a week to send someone for, and that's only because I had to text him multiple times, which is really annoying because I have work and I have things I need to be doing, and he doesn't reply unless I double text him.
Oh, pardon me, Your Honor, that is not true. I would like to see evidence to that effect.
Do you have any evidence to that effect, that he ignores your messages?
No, but we do have the log that shows the time between reporting it and the time between
when you say a log, what do you mean?
A maintenance log.
Oh, let's see that.
And the maintenance log will
But where do you get that? Like, what is that?
Mm-hmm. Well, that is when we...
Oh, those are your notes, though, right?
Yes.
So the log will reflect, Your Honor, that we're very prompt with our service.
The log will absolutely not reflect that you're prompt.
Okay, well, hold on one second. First of all, do not talk to him. 11:10, garbage disposal in kitchen not working, completed 11:11. That seems pretty prompt. 12:1, completed 12:6. Okay, that's 5 days, but sometimes you can't get somebody to go out. 2:10, completed 2:11. 6:3, completed 6:10. Okay, 7 days. Microwave door latch broken. That's not exactly a matter of national security. Bathtub not draining properly. Complaint is January 14th. Completed January 17th. I'm not seeing what you're saying.
Okay, so the problem is, Your Honor, is that would...
it's like you've written notes next to it. It took him 3 days. It took him 3 days.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? Have you ever had to call a repair person in your life that someone else didn't need to call? Because sometimes it takes 3 days to get them there.
Absolutely, and that would be a completely reasonable amount of time if he actually called repair people.
How do you know when he called them? If the people were like, okay, this is nonsense, okay? Like, if you report something and it's completed in 3 days, that is not a huge lag time. The only one that's 7 days is the microwave door latch, which truly is not that big a deal. So maybe he didn't treat that one with the same, angst as you did. But I'm still trying to figure out, rather than, tell me how everybody hates him and he's a terrible person, I'm trying to get to the legal part of this, which is, how do you prove it's their fault? Because when a plaintiff comes to court, they always have the burden of proof. Okay? They have the burden of proving their case. By a preponderance of the evidence, it's more likely than not that it's how they say it goes. But when your defense is, I'm not going to give you your security deposit back that I'm supposed to give to you because you caused damage, that burden shifts to you. It's now your turn to prove to me that it is more likely than not them who created that kind of damage. How on earth are you going to do that when, go ahead. Yeah, I know there is damage. Is that how you're going to do it?
No.
Go ahead and show me what you got.
So I have material evidence, Your Honor. This is the price. These are the costs that I incurred.
Yes, you've absolutely proven beyond a reasonable doubt, which is not even your burden. You have proven beyond all doubt in the sky that it cost that. Here's my question. How are you pinning it on them? How is it that you are going to prove that it was their negligence and not just the normal wear and tear or negligence of prior tenants? Because the mold is the only one that knows. And guess what? The mold's not testifying, right? We can't tell from looking at it when it developed. That's the bottom line. So I'm going to order you to return the security deposit. There is no other reason to withhold it but the subfloor issue, right? Like, because everything else was pristine. All right. Verdict for the plaintiff, $3,000.
All rise.
Judge Milian has ruled in favor of the co-plaintiffs. The defendant owes $3,000.
Any last remarks?
Liars never win.
I feel that justice didn't go my way, but hey, that's how it is sometimes.
Coming up.
I went through hair and makeup completely, and after about 30 minutes, her assistant came over to me. She told me that I was no longer needed for the day and I could go ahead and leave.
This is Justice for the People with Judge Milian. Diana St. James claims she was sent home from a modeling job after she was falsely accused of having a drug problem. Petra Fallow says she knows an addict when she sees one and doesn't want her company to be poorly represented.
Ms. St. James, you are suing Ms. Fallow for $2,500 because she employed you to do a job and then sent you home. Tell me what happened.
So I was hired as a model to work for Miss Fallow.
And what were you going to be modeling?
I was going to be modeling activewear.
Okay.
And when I got to the set, I fully got dressed in a sports bra and biker shorts. And I went through hair and makeup completely. And after about 30 minutes, her assistant came over to me and she told me that I was no longer needed for the day and I could go ahead and leave. They didn't tell me why, but I have type 1 diabetes, which is a chronic illness, and I have like needle marks from my insulin, which I need every day to survive. And so I was super shocked when they told me to leave.
Okay, so did you ever find out why they told you to leave?
Well, when I left, she was standing outside smoking a cigarette, and something came over me. I went up to her and I asked her, I said, well, I don't know why you're letting me go. It doesn't really make any sense. I fully went through hair and makeup. And she said, well, I didn't realize you were a drug addict.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on one second. I'm going to give you the floor in a moment.
Okay.
And I didn't realize you were a drug addict. And what did you say to her?
I was shocked. I didn't even know what to say. I was like, I didn't know what she was talking about. And then I was like, oh my God. Like,
but didn't you know that she was talking about the track marks?
Well, after she pointed at my legs and my arms.
So did you tell her I'm a diabetic?
I didn't know what to say. It really struck me because I have dealt with this since I was 6 years old. And I've always felt like I was different because of it.
Coming up.
Did you think she was a drug addict?
I don't know what she does in her private time, but I mean, it looked like a drug addict to me from what I've seen.
She called me a drug addict.
This is Justice for the People with Judge Milian. We're back with the case of Diana St. James, who brought Petra Fallow to court for firing her after falsely accusing her of using drugs.
Did you say to her, I'm a diabetic, not a drug addict?
No, not there, but
Not
I
there.
emailed her afterwards.
And told her what?
I told her, I'm a type 1 diabetic. It is a chronic illness. I need to inject myself with insulin every day to survive, to maintain my blood sugar.
The markings are a result of medical devices and regular insulin injections that are essential for managing my diabetes. I am more than willing to provide any additional information or documentation from my healthcare provider. Did you happen to bring any of that to court today?
I do not have that, but I have a photo of the markings if you want to see it.
Yeah, let me see them.
Yeah.
All right, so let me talk to you, Ms. Fallow. Why did you dismiss her?
Because, okay, I have a contract, which I could also let you see if you wanted to, that says, it says the model must not have any markings or signs of drug use on their body.
And it's
Hold on
not
one second. Wait a second. Now it's her turn. Did you think she was a drug addict?
I don't know what she does in her private time, but I mean, it looked like a drug addict to me from what I've seen.
She
of drug
called
addicts.
me a drug addict.
Did you call her a drug addict?
Yeah, she did when we were
I don't
outside.
recall saying you were a drug addict.
It became an issue because you saw marks on her leg. Let's take a look at the picture. Is this a knee that I'm looking at?
It's
yes,
my
right?
thigh.
Your thigh, okay.
It looked worse than that.
Was there anything about her behavior at that session beforehand, because she had already been exposed to the makeup artist and everybody else, where you thought she was on drugs at the moment or anything?
I have to tell you that, like, my brother, who died in 2015, was a drug addict, and he was.
I'm sorry, my dear.
Yeah. He was addicted to heroin, so I know what it looks like, and it was like viscerally in my stomach, I was like, this is a drug addict, so that's.
Judge Milian's verdict when justice for the people returns. This is Justice for the People with Judge Milian.
But what if you're wrong and she's a diabetic? Then what? Do you owe her the money because you had a sensitive trigger for obvious reasons? After hiring her, she spends the time there. How are you not going to pay her the money you owe her? You want to dismiss her because you're jumping to the conclusion. That's fine. Go ahead. But you better have some evidence of it to back it up, because she's showing me evidence of very tiny markings. I know what they look like too. I get it. I understand. I'm ruling in favor of the plaintiff in this case in the amount of the $2,500. I understand that you didn't want her there, but you don't get to not want her there for something that isn't what you thought it was. And you have no evidence that it's that.
What about the contract?
What about the contract?
That just says no visible markings.
Right, but this is so barely visible. Verdict for the plaintiff, $2,500.
Judge Milian has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant owes $2,500.
This has been a production of Allen Media Group.